Hello, this is Wanda. I am the redheaded OP who likes to talk, and mostly I like to talk about books. Um, and I am back. I've been gone a while, and I had been busy at work, had a few health issues, so been struggling to find some time to record my video. But anyway, hopefully, got that all lined out and won't be an issue again. So my books for June. The Wager, David Grann, A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny, and Murder. Dun, dun, dun. David Grann is an excellent author. He is also the author of Killers of the Flower Moon, the Osage Murders. That happened here in Oklahoma. Uh, really good book, really good movie. I recommend both. I recommend this one as well. The Wager is a ship. So in the 1730s, a fleet of ships set out from England. England, of course, was fighting with Spain, and they were hunting the Spanish Armada. So they sail down and they go down around the Horn, which was just a mess. It was they all had scurvy. The storms just tore the ship apart, and they made it up to the other side, but then they get shipwrecked on this island where it's freezing cold and there's no plants, no animals. Well, the only plant there is this wild celery, which just accidentally cures their scurvy, takes care of that problem. And then they're stuck there, right? The ships crash. They do have a couple of boats. They have a few supplies, but they're fighting. They're hungry. They're eating their shoes. I mean, it's a nightmare. There are some natives that show up to help them out. Shows them, sets up camp with them. Fishes, provides them with food, provides them, helps them hunt. They have dogs that help them. But of course, Reds, white people, they just, took advantage of them. They got drunk. They harassed the Indian men. They harassed the Indian women. So one morning they woke up and all the natives were gone. Can you blame them? So apparently it was a tribe called the Kawascar, Kawesqar. Not sure how to pronounce that. Um, and they just disappeared. They were like, we don't have to deal with this. Now, one of the interesting things about the wager is that one of the shipmen, his name was John Byron, and yes, he was Lord Byron of the Byron Shelley Keats fame from the 1800s. This was his grandfather that was on the ship, and he survived these horrific conditions and made it back to England because he was only like 14 or 15 when this happened. There was cannibalism, there was fighting, there was murder, there was these guys that went crazy and went off to live up on this hill and was just getting drunk all the time. They finally, the biggest group of them was like the captain was just going nuts. So the captain wanted them to keep fighting the Spanish, and they were like, "How are we supposed to fight the Spanish? We can't even feed ourselves. We're starving to death. We're eating, the dead bodies." And so so this group of guys, they load up in a boat and manage to make it back to England, and it leaves a small group of men with the captain, who try to head on up the coast, but they end up getting captured by the Spanish and held in prison for about 5 years before they're released and make their way back to England. There was a big trial for the mutiny, but no one was really punished. Everyone was just kind of let go, because it just, I mean, just the order had broke down. They didn't have rules in place to deal with these types of situations, and the only benefit to this was they did come up with some benefits. So, but my quote from this book is from John Byron, and talking about the natives that stopped by to help them, and he says, "Could we have entertained them as we ought," Byron lamented, "they would have been of great assistance to us." Given that the castaway's behavior had prompted this abrupt departure, he added, they did not expect to ever see the Coast Guard again. No doubt. I wouldn't have blamed them. I would have taken off myself and would have been like, if y'all gonna act like that, we don't have to deal with you. We get along just fine over here. We've been living here for, since time immemorial. So anyway, that was that one. I do recommend it. I recommend pretty much anything David Grann writes. Every both books that I've read by him. I think I read a Bonnie and Clyde book by him. It was good too. Um, so I recommend that. My next book comes The Blind Fury by Saul. This is a ghost story, a little girl ghost story. As you can see, she was blind. She was pushed off a cliff after being bullied, and she gets angry. So she comes back to torment the people that live in the house that she lived in. And this family moves in, and they have a 12-year-old girl who's the same age as the little blind girl, Amanda. And the father is a doctor, and the mother's pregnant. And the doctor, Dr. Carson, who was the original doctor here, and he offered them this house in the position as a country doctor. They came from Boston, and he lures that doctor there because he wants revenge on him because this other little boy died. That didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's where the story went with it. And anyway, so a bunch of kids get killed. I always give bonus points to any author who's willing to kill off little kids, and it kills off several little kids, like 5 little kids get killed, and one of them in a pretty gruesome way. So it's kind of funny. But don't get me wrong. So I don't always think it's hilarious that little kids die. But I just think it's brave when an author is willing to kill little kids because it's just people freak out tend to anymore. I mean, I'm from the 80s. We did everything, right? It was no big deal. Uh, we were feral children of the 80s. I mean, I lived my life outside. I got chased by snakes and wasps and Bigfoot and wild hogs. So, I was like, and my mom was like, "Don't track that mud on the carpet when you come back in." So so yeah, but yeah, and this is from the 80s. It was published in 1980. So yeah, it's brutal. If you can't deal with little kids dying, don't read the book. Maybe you want to semi spooky ghost story about little girls. Yeah, go ahead. Um, and but anyway, they. I don't know that I'd recommend it, but because it wasn't that great. But okay. So my next book is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I had heard so much about this book. So many book reviews talking about how awesome and amazing and wonderful this book was, and oh, this is so good, it's so good, it's so good. So I had to read it, and so it's a modern book. It's set in the mid 2010s, 2014, 15, something like that, and a pandemic hits, and it's got a 99% fatality rate. So, everything shuts down. Civilization, boom, comes to a screeching halt. And it starts out with this character, Jeevan, and he has this whole story, and it goes in and it tells this whole story, and he's got a brother who's in a wheelchair, and he's he wants to be a paramedic. He's just discovered that this is his calling in life, and he's watching this play one night where this actor Arthur Leander collapses on stage and dies of a heart attack. But this is also the night that the pandemic hits, and so he gets a call from a doctor friend of his, and his doctor friend tells him, "You need to get out of town. You need to hole up somewhere. This is bad. This is very, very bad. Things are going to go to hell just really super quick." So Jeevan goes to this grocery store, and he gets he buys a ton of groceries. Right, he's got 7 carts full of groceries, standing outside with 7 enormous shopping carts to transport through the snow to his brother's apartment, soaked in sweat and also freezing, feeling foolish and afraid and a little crazy. This was Jeevan at the beginning of this story. And he makes it to his brother's apartment with all 7 grocery carts because there's almost nobody on the streets. Everybody's inside. And his brother's like, "What the heck?" And he tells him what's going on. And they hole up in his brother's apartment uh, with their supplies. Then it goes to this girl, Kristen Raymond. And she's with this, it's 20 years later, and she's with this group called the Traveling Symphony. and she has been given this graphic novel called, the name of it, the title of the graphic novel is Station 11. Arthur Leander, she was an actor. She was there the night Arthur Leander collapsed on stage and died. And he had given her this book, this graphic novel that his ex-wife had written, and there was only like two or three of them published in the whole world. She just personally had them published from her own personal. This was just her personal art project that she had done, and so uh, and so it cuts to the traveling symphony and Kristen, and they're traveling around. They go. There's this loop that they make around um, the northern part of the where the Canadian U.S. border up there, and they perform Shakespeare. Right? They stop in these little settlements that are these little groups of civilization, little groups of people in these different areas, and they perform Shakespeare for them. And uh, it I didn't care for it too much. The writing was really well done, characterization, all of that was really well done. It was very vivid. I mean, I'll remember this book for a long time. It was really well written in one sense. It wasn't put together very well because to me it just felt like it was just like snapshot, this is happening here, snapshot, this is happening over here, here. It jumps back and forth in time to the past, to the present, 20 years after the pandemic, year 20. And I feel like I was missing big parts of the story because things would happen and I'd be like, where did this come from? And it wasn't there. And I'd go back looking through it. And so it just didn't come together real well for me. It didn't feel like a fluid story. It just felt like little bits and things, little vignettes of life after this pandemic, and little pieces of life of some of these people that were connected in some ways, prior to the pandemic. And so I don't know, it just didn't work for me. So so I don't know. I wouldn't say that I recommend it because I didn't care for it too much. But that was that. Anyway, so my next book, and the last one because I only had four in June. Didn't read a whole lot. Storied Life. Let me see if you can see that. The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. I like Gabrielle Zevin. I read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, I think that's what it's called, about the video game people. And while the characters, and most of them I didn't care for, and I really felt like that ending should have been chopped off. It should have just ended way before it did. It was so well written. She writes so well. And this book, on the other hand, I absolutely loved. AJ Fikry is just a big old grumpy lump of a dude. We meet him right after his wife has died, and I mean, I mean, it's not real believable. He's on this island. He owns this bookstore, and it's like, really, a bookstore nowadays would really be good. But there's book clubs, and there's a baby that gets abandoned, and there's a publisher that's selling these books to him that comes around every twice a year to try to get him to buy certain books from her publishing house. And they end up falling in love and getting married, and they raise this baby that was abandoned in his store. And it's it's so good. I love this book so much. It was so good. And every chapter begins with it's him making notes to his daughter, and he's recommended different short stories because he was more of a short story reader than like a novel length reader. So that's he's um, and so every chapter begins, and he talks about these different short stories that he recommends to his daughter once, for her to read. It's just something he's putting together for her, once she's grown. And it was so good. He was just this grumpy guy, and there's the police, and he becomes friends with the captain of the local police department, and this police captain starts a book club, and this is one of my favorite parts because they get so he has a book club that meets there at the bookstore every week. This captain, and it's all law enforcement officers that he's gotten to read these books, and he decided he had to be careful because one week he recommended a book and it got the cop so riled up that one cop pulled his weapon on another cop. Anyway, and he was like, you just got to be careful with your book choices because it can lead to danger. Which I thought was just terrific. And there's other book clubs, and it was just one of those charming, sweet little impossible tales. That was just It was just a super enjoyable read. It was so good. And at one point his mother, AJ's mother, buys him and his wife and his daughter. She buys them all e-readers, and he gets upset because he thinks e-readers are evil. And he's just such a cranky old dude. He's such a grump, and but he's so funny and sweet, and he's like, he grumps about everything, but then he goes and he does these really nice things, and that's just the kind of person he is. So anyway, it's really good. I highly recommend The Storied Life of AJ Fikry, Fikry, by Gabrielle Zevin. And those were my books for June. There was only four. It was a short reading month. Again, I had some health issues. Work was pretty busy, so I didn't have a lot of time. And hopefully, I'll be back soon with another video on my audiobooks that I listened to in June. I plan on doing that, and I'll be posting that soon as well. So happy reading, everybody, and see you next time. Bye.